A starving alien child stole from me. What I found was heartbreaking. The desert stretched endlessly before Mia, a sea of red sand under a sky that burned with two suns. She had stopped counting the days since her salvage crew left her behind on this nameless planet. They'd called it a lost cause when the ship's engines failed, taking off with what little they could carry and leaving her with a broken shelter pod and a dwindling pile of supplies. Survival was simple now. Ration the food, find water in the cracks of rocks, and avoid the storms that tore through the dunes like angry ghosts. Mia was good at surviving. She had to be. That night, she sat by a small fire, the flames flickering weakly against the cold. Her shelter pod, a dented metal box, leaned against a rusted slab of wreckage she'd scavenged from the dunes. Her supplies, 3 ration packs and a half-empty water canister, sat beside her, carefully guarded. The wind was quiet for once, a rare break from the howling gusts that usually carried sand into her eyes and mouth. She pulled her jacket tighter, her brown hair tied back in a messy knot, and stared into the fire. Something felt off, though. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like the air was holding its breath. Then she heard it, a soft rustle, barely louder than the crackle of the fire. Maya's hand slid to the metal pipe she kept as a weapon, her fingers curling around its cool surface. She didn't move, didn't look up, just listened. There it was again. A scuff, a scrape, something small moving through the sand. Her eyes flicked to her supplies, and that's when she saw it. A tiny figure, no taller than her knee, darting from the shadows. It was fast, too fast for her to catch more than a glimpse. Glowing green skin, big round eyes, and hands snatching one of her ration packs before it bolted back into the dark. "Hey!" Maya shouted, jumping to her feet. The pipe clanged against the pod as she dropped it, instinct kicking in. She couldn't lose that food. Not here. Not now. She grabbed her flashlight and ran after the thief, her boots sinking into the sand with every step. The glow of its skin was her only guide, a faint shimmer weaving through the dunes. She didn't know what it was. Some kind of animal, maybe, or a scavenger like her. But she wasn't about to let it take what little she had left. The chase led her farther than she'd planned, the dunes rising and falling around her like frozen waves. Her breath burned in her chest, but she kept going, driven by a mix of anger and something else, curiosity. Who or what would steal from her out here? The glow stopped suddenly, vanishing behind a wall of sand kicked up by a rising wind. Maya slowed, squinting through the dust. Ahead, half buried in the dune, was the outline of something big, a ship, its hull cracked open like an egg. It wasn't human-made. The curves and strange markings told her that much. It was fresh, too, the edges still sharp, not yet worn down by the planet's endless storms. She crept closer, flashlight sweeping the shadows. The wind picked up, tugging at her jacket, but she ignored it. The glow reappeared, slipping through a jagged hole in the ship's side. Mia hesitated. She could turn back, guard what was left of her camp, and forget this. But something pulled her forward, maybe the same stubborn streak that had kept her alive this long. She ducked into the hole, the air inside thick with the smell of burnt metal and something sour. The ship's interior was a mess of twisted walls and broken panels, faintly lit by the glow of the thief. She followed it down a narrow corridor, her boots crunching on debris. Then she saw them. The small figure crouched beside a larger one, slumped against the wall. The bigger alien was a duller green, its skin patchy and bruised, its chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. It was alive, but just barely. The child pressed the stolen ration pack into its hands, whispering in a language Mia couldn't understand, its voice trembling. Mia stepped forward, her flashlight beam cutting through the dark. The child spun around, its huge eyes wide with fear, clutching the ration pack like a shield. It was skinny too skinny, its ribs poking through its glowing skin. The bigger one, its father, she guessed, stirred weakly, one hand reaching for the child. Maya's anger faded. She'd seen hunger before, back on Earth, back when she'd scavenged streets instead of deserts. This wasn't just theft. It was desperation. She lowered the flashlight, keeping her voice soft. "I'm not here to hurt you." The child didn't move, just stared, its glow pulsing faintly. Mia set the pipe down and reached into her jacket, pulling out a small med kit she'd salvaged months ago. The father's injuries were bad. Cuts along his arms, a gash across his chest, blood dark and sticky against his skin. She didn't know alien biology, but she knew bleeding, and she knew how to stop it. Working quickly, she tore strips from her spare shirt and used the medkit's gel to seal the worst of the wounds. The child watched, silent, as she rigged a sling from a broken panel to keep the father's arm steady. It wasn't perfect, but it would hold. She glanced at the ration pack still in the child's hands. "Go ahead," she said. "He needs it more than I do." The child hesitated, then tore open the pack and fed small pieces to its father. The alien's breathing steadied slightly, his eyes cracking open to look at Mia. They were deep and tired, but there was something sharp in them. Gratitude, maybe, or suspicion. She couldn't tell. She sat back, wiping her hands on her pants, and took a slow breath. She'd just given up a third of her food, but she didn't regret it. Not yet. Then the howls started. Low at first, rolling through the dunes outside, they grew louder, closer. Maya stiffened, grabbing her pipe again. The child whimpered, pressing closer to its father. The alien's eyes narrowed, his voice a weak rasp in broken English. "They come." Mia stood, peering through the ship's cracked hull. Shadows moved in the sandstorm beyond, big, fast, and hungry. She didn't know what they were, but she knew trouble when she heard it. Her camp was miles away, her supplies useless if she couldn't get back. She looked at the aliens, then at the storm. She'd survived alone this long, but now she had a choice to make, and the howls were getting closer. The howls outside the crashed ship grew louder, cutting through the rising wind like a blade. Maya stood at the jagged hole in the hull, her grip tight on the metal pipe, her eyes scanning the swirling sandstorm beyond. The shadows out there moved too fast to count. Dark shapes with long limbs and sharp edges, circling closer. She didn't know what they were, but she'd survived enough hostile planets to recognize predators when she saw them. Her heart thudded hard against her ribs, but she forced herself to stay calm. Panicking wouldn't save her, or the alien she'd just decided to help. She turned back to the pair inside. The small alien child, his green skin glowing faintly, clung to his father's side, his round eyes wide with fear. The father, still weak from his injuries, propped himself up against the wall, his breathing ragged but steadier now thanks to Maya's makeshift bandages. He'd said something about they coming, and that was all the warning she needed. Whatever was out there, it wasn't friendly. "We can't stay here," Maya said, her voice firm despite the knot in her stomach. She crouched beside them, keeping one eye on the storm outside. "That ship's not gonna hold if those things attack." The father's deep eyes met hers, sharp despite the exhaustion weighing him down. He spoke slowly, his voice rough and accented, piecing together words she could understand. "Ike, Kale, this, Lumen." He gestured to the child, who peeked out from behind his arm. "We run from war. Ship, fail." Mia nodded, processing fast. Kale and Lumen, names she could work with. Refugees, then not just random survivors. She glanced at Lumen, his glow pulsing faintly, then back at Kale. "I'm Mia, and I get it. You're lost like me. But we're not safe here. Can you move?" Kale shifted, wincing as he tested his weight on his good arm. His legs shook, but he nodded. "Yes. Little." Lumen whimpered, tugging at his father's torn sleeve, but Kale brushed a hand over the boy's head, murmuring something soft in their language. It sounded like reassurance, and it worked. Lumen quieted, though his glow dimmed with worry. Mia didn't waste time. She grabbed her flashlight and slung her small pack over her shoulder, stuffing the remaining ration packs inside. She handed Cale the metal pipe. She'd need her hands free, and pointed to a corner of the ship where a pile of broken panels lay scattered. "Help me make a barrier. We'll slow them down." Cale understood, dragging himself over with Lumen's help. Together, they shoved the panels into place, blocking the hole in the hull as best they could. Maya wedged a rusted beam across it, her muscles straining as she jammed it tight. It wouldn't stop anything determined, but it might buy them a few minutes. The howls turned into snarls, closer now, and she felt the air shift, charged, electric, like the storm was about to break wide open. Then it hit. The wind slammed into the ship with a roar, shaking the walls, and sending sand pouring through every crack. The barrier rattled, and something heavy crashed against it from outside. A claw, maybe, or a body. Mia grabbed Cale's arm, pulling him up. "Now, go." Lumen darted ahead, his glow lighting the way as they stumbled through the ship's dark corridors. Mia supported Cale, his weight heavy against her side, but she didn't falter. She carried heavier loads scavenging Earth's ruins. This was nothing. They reached a smaller breach on the opposite side, just big. She remembered the wreckage she'd scavenged weeks ago, scattered across the dunes. Sharp metal, old cables, things she could use. "This way," she yelled, veering toward a half-buried transport frame she'd marked as a landmark. The storm hid it until they were close, its skeletal shape looming out of the dust. Mia dropped to her knees, digging through the sand, her fingers finding a coil of wire and a jagged sheet of steel. Cale sank beside her, breathing hard, while Lumen pressed close, his glow flickering. "What you do?" Cale asked, watching her work. "Trap," Maya said, grinning despite the danger. She looped the wire into a snare, tying it to the steel sheet, then wedged it into the sand at an angle. "They'll trip, slow them down, maybe cut them up a little." She didn't know if it'd work, but it was better than running blind. The snarls grew louder, and a shape lunged from the storm, a creature twice her size, all muscle and claws. Maya yanked the wire tight, and the beast stumbled, crashing into the steel with a screech. Dark blood splattered the sand, and it thrashed, tangled in the trap. Another came, but hesitated, wary of its fallen packmate. Mia didn't wait to see more. "Go, go." They ran, the trap buying them seconds. Cale leaned on her harder now, his strength fading, but he kept moving. Lumen's glow guided them, a beacon in the chaos. Maya's legs burned, her lungs aching, but she pushed on. She'd survived worse, alone. Now she had something to fight for. After what felt like hours, the storm's roar softened, and the ground hardened beneath their feet. They'd reached a rocky outcrop, a natural shield against the wind. Mia helped Cale sit, his back against a boulder, while Lumen curled up beside him. She checked the horizon. No shadows yet, but they'd come. The trap wouldn't hold forever. Cale caught his breath, his eyes on her. "You, strong, smart." Mia shrugged, wiping sand from her face. "Had to be. You're not so bad yourself, still alive after that crash." He managed a faint smile, the first she'd seen from him. "Lumen, say humans help. Colony, safe place. We look for it." Mia frowned, crouching beside them. A human colony. Here. She'd heard rumors from her crew, whispers of settlers carving out a life on this rock, but she'd never found proof. "Where?" Cale pointed west, his hand trembling. "Far. Caves. Maybe. Signal. There." "Caves," Maya repeated, her mind clicking into gear. She'd scouted a cave system once, miles from her camp, but abandoned it when a storm hit. It was a long shot, but better than staying here. "I know the place. If we can get there, we might hold out." The wind picked up again, carrying a fresh howl, closer this time. Mia stood, scanning the dunes. The creatures were back, and the ship wouldn't be far behind them. She looked at Cal and Lumen, their faces lit by the boy's glow. They were counting on her now, and she wasn't about to let them down. "We move at dawn," she said. "Rest now, but not long. Those things won't wait." She pulled a ration pack from her bag, splitting it 3 ways. Cal hesitated, but took it when Lumen nudged him. They ate in silence, the storm raging around them, a reminder of what hunted them. Mia leaned against the rock, her pipe across her lap, listening to the wind. Cal's words stuck with her. A colony, a safe place. She'd been alone so long, surviving day by day, that the idea felt foreign. But helping these two, fighting for them, sparked something she hadn't felt in years. Hope, maybe, or purpose. The ship behind them groaned, a loud crack splitting the air. Mia spun around, her heart sinking. The hull collapsed, swallowed by the storm, their last shelter gone. The howls rose again, triumphant, as if the creatures knew their prey was exposed. Mia gripped her pipe tighter, glancing at Cal and Lumen. Dawn was hours away, and the night was alive with danger. They had to move, now, or they'd never make it. The collapse of the ship left Mia, Cal, and Lumen exposed, the storm's howl mixing with the eerie cries of the creatures stalking them. The rocky outcrop offered little cover, just a fleeting pause in their desperate flight. Mia's hands tightened around her metal pipe, her eyes darting across the dunes. The shadows were closing in, their glowing eyes cutting through the dust, like beacons of death. Dawn was too far off. They couldn't wait. She turned to Cal, his bruised face tense but resolute, and Lumen, whose glow flickered with fear. "We're moving now," Maya said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The caves are west. We push hard. We make it. No stopping." Cal nodded, forcing himself to his feet with a grunt of pain. His injuries slowed him, but his eyes burned with determination. Lumen clung to his hand, his small body trembling but silent. Mia admired that. The kid was scared, but he didn't whine. She adjusted her pack, the weight of their survival on her shoulders, and led the way into the storm. The trek was brutal. The wind shoved against them, sand biting into their skin like tiny teeth. Mia kept her head low, one arm shielding her face, the other guiding Cal when his steps faltered. Lumen's glow was their lifeline, a soft green light piercing the haze, showing them the path when the world turned to chaos. The dunes gave way to rocky ground, jagged stones tripping them up, but Mia pressed on. She'd survived alone for months. She could get them through this. Hours blurred into a haze of exhaustion. Cal's breathing grew shallow, his weight heavier against her as they climbed a steep ridge. Maya's muscles screamed, but she didn't let go. "Almost there," she muttered, more to herself than him. She glanced back. Lumen's glow dimmed, his little legs stumbling. She reached down, hoisting him onto her back without a word. He was light, too light, and his arms wrapped around her neck, holding tight. Cal rasped something in his language, then switched to English. "You carry much." Mia smirked, sweat stinging her eyes. "Used to it. Keep moving." The caves loomed ahead at last, a dark maw in the rock face, half hidden by drifting sand. Maya's heart lifted. They'd made it. She set Lumen down, helping Cal inside first. The air was cool and damp, a sharp contrast to the desert's heat, and the storm's roar faded to a distant whine. Maya swept her flashlight across the space. It wasn't just a cave. It was an outpost, abandoned long ago. Dusty crates, rusted tools, and a console tucked against the wall caught her eye. A signal beacon, maybe. Hope flared in her chest. "Rest here," she told Cal, easing him against a crate. Lumen curled up beside him, his glow steadying now that they were safe. Maya didn't rest. She rummaged through her pack, pulling out her broken comms device, a relic from her cruise ship, useless until now. She eyed the console, its faint blinking light promising a chance. "If this works," she muttered. "We're not stuck here forever." Kale watched her, his voice weak but curious. "You fix." "Gonna try," Maya said, cracking open the console's panel. Wires spilled out, frayed and old, but she patched worse. She stripped parts from her comms, her fingers deft from years of scavenging, twisting connections, and rerouting power. Sparks flew, and she cursed under her breath, but she kept going. Kale and Lumen needed this. She needed this. A hum started, low at first, then stronger. The console lit up, static crackling through a speaker. Mia slammed the transmit button. "This is Mia, stranded on this rock. 3 of us, me, 2 others. We need evac, now." She held her breath, waiting. Silence stretched. Then a voice broke through, faint but clear. "Signal received. This is the Unity, Human-Alien Alliance ship. Coordinates locked. ETA 1 hour. Hold tight." Mia exhaled, a grin splitting her face. 1 hour, she said, turning to Kale. "We just gotta last that long." Kale's eyes softened, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You, good human." "Yeah, well, you're not bad for an alien," she shot back, but her chest warmed at his words. Lumen perked up, his glow brightening, and for a moment, they let themselves believe it. Rescue was coming. That hope shattered fast. A clicking sound echoed from the cave's entrance, sharp and rhythmic. Mia's stomach dropped. She grabbed her pipe, standing between Kale and the dark. "They followed us," she whispered. The creatures had tracked them, their hunger relentless. Lumen whimpered, pressing against Kal, who struggled to stand, gripping the metal pipe Mia had given him. "We fight," he said, his voice firm despite his weakness. Mia nodded. Together, the first creature slunk into view, its bony frame glinting in Lumen's glow. Pale skin stretched tight over muscle, claws like knives, eyes burning yellow. It hissed, lunging at Mia. She swung her pipe, catching it across the jaw with a sickening crunch. It staggered, but another took its place. Faster. Kale thrust his pipe forward, stabbing at its chest, dark blood spilling as it screeched. Mia ducked a claw, slamming her weapon into its knee, dropping it to the ground. They fought back to back, a clumsy but fierce team. Mia's arms burned, her breath ragged, but she didn't stop. Kal's strikes were weaker, but precise, his will unbroken. Lumen stayed behind them, his glow casting wild shadows, making the creatures hesitate. More came, their numbers growing, and Mia's hope wavered. The cave was a choke point. They couldn't hold forever. "Keep them back," she yelled, kicking a crate into the path of one beast. It stumbled, giving her a second to think. Her eyes darted to the console, then the crates, old tools, maybe explosives. She scrambled over, digging through dust and rust, her hands shaking. A flare gun, half buried, caught her eye. She grabbed it, praying it worked. "Kale, down," she shouted. He dropped, pulling Lumen with him. Maya fired the flare, a blinding red streak rocketing into the creatures. It hit one square in the chest, erupting in sparks and flame. The beast shrieked, thrashing as fire spread, and the others recoiled, their hisses turning to panic. Maya fired again, driving them back into the dark. The cave fell silent, save for the crackle of dying flames. Maya lowered the gun, her hands trembling. Kale pulled himself up, leaning on the crate, his chest heaving. Lumen peeked out, his glow steady again. "You scare them," Kale said, a hint of awe in his voice. "Fire's good for that," Maya replied, wiping sweat from her brow. She checked the console. The signal still held. 40 minutes. We just need tow. A deep growl cut her off, louder than before. The creatures weren't gone. They were regrouping. Mia's jaw tightened. She reloaded the flare gun, her last shot, and handed Kale a rusted wrench from the crate. "They're not done. Neither are we." Kale took the wrench, his grip shaky but firm. Together, he echoed her earlier words. Lumen pressed between them, his small hand on Mia's arm, his glow a quiet promise of light in the dark. The growls grew closer, shadows shifting at the cave's edge. Mia braced herself, the flare gun hot in her hand. Rescue was coming. But it wasn't here yet. They'd fight for every second, human and alien side by side, their strength woven from desperation and trust. The Unity's voice crackled again, faint but steady. 35 minutes. Mia exhaled. They could do this. They had to. The growls reverberated through the cave, a chorus of hunger and rage that set Mia's nerves on edge. She stood at the ready, flare gun in one hand, metal pipe in the other, her body aching but unyielding. Beside her, Cale gripped the rusted wrench, his bruised frame trembling from effort yet steady with purpose. Lumen huddled between them, his green glow pulsing brighter, casting eerie light on the jagged walls. The creatures were back, bolder, angrier, their yellow eyes glinting as they crept closer. 35 minutes until rescue, the Unity had said. It felt like a lifetime. They're coming, Mia muttered, her voice low but firm. She glanced at Cale, his deep eyes meeting hers with a silent agreement. They'd fight to the end. Lumen's small hand brushed her leg, a quiet plea for strength, and she nodded. Stay close, kid. The first creature lunged, claws slashing through the air. Maya fired the flare gun, her last shot, and the red blaze streaked into its chest. It erupted in a burst of fire, screeching as it fell, but the others didn't flinch this time. They'd learned fire wouldn't stop them all. Mia swung her pipe, cracking it against a second beast's skull, the impact jarring her arms. Cale thrust his wrench forward, catching another in the ribs, dark blood splattering the stone floor. They fought as one, a desperate dance of survival, each move fueled by the will to protect each other. More came, a relentless tide of claws and teeth. Mia's pipe bent under a heavy blow, and she stumbled, pain flaring in her side from an old wound. Cale stepped in, slamming his wrench into the creature's jaw, giving her a second to recover. She gritted her teeth, pushing back the ache. They couldn't falter, not now. Lumen whimpered, his glow flickering, and Mia's heart twisted. She had to do something. Lumen, shine, she shouted, an idea sparking. The boy hesitated, then nodded, his skin flaring bright, a dazzling burst of green that flooded the cave. The creatures hissed, their eyes squinting against the sudden light, movement slowing. Mia seized the chance, grabbing a crate and hurling it into the pack, scattering them. Cale followed her lead, kicking debris at their legs, tripping them up. It wasn't much, but it bought time. The cave trembled, a deep rumble shaking the walls. Maya's pulse raced. Was it the ship? She glanced at the console. The signal held strong. 20 minutes, she said, her voice hoarse. We hold them off. Cale nodded, his breath ragged. Together. The creatures regrouped, their growls deeper, more furious. One charged, faster than the rest, and Mia barely dodged, its claw grazing her arm. Blood welled up, hot and sticky, but she ignored it, swinging her pipe into its side. Cale tackled another, his strength waning, and fell to one knee. Lumen darted forward, his glow blinding the beast long enough for Mia to finish it with a heavy strike. She pulled Cale up, her hands firm on his arm. Not done yet, she said, and he managed a faint, fierce smile. The rumble grew louder, dust falling from the ceiling. The creatures paused, heads tilting, sensing something new. Mia's hope surged. Rescue was close. She scanned the cave, spotting a narrow tunnel branching off. There, she pointed. We bottleneck them, force them through one at a time. Cale understood, limping toward it with Lumen. Mia grabbed the last crate, dragging it to block the wider path, her muscles screaming in protest. The creatures snarled, rushing forward, but the tunnel slowed them, their bulk jamming the entrance. Maya and Cale stood shoulder to shoulder, weapons raised, striking at anything that clawed through. Lumen's glow lit their targets, his courage shining as bright as his skin. Minutes stretched into eternity, each blow a test of will. Mia's arms felt like lead, her vision blurring, but she didn't stop. Cal's strikes grew weaker, yet he fought on, his determination mirroring hers. They were battered, bleeding, but alive. And that was enough. The rumble became a roar, the cave shaking violently now, and a voice crackled through the console. Unity landing. 10 minutes out. Hold position. 10 minutes. Mia gasped, slamming her pipe into a creature's snout. We've got this. Cal grunted, driving his wrench into another's eye. Yes. The creatures pressed harder, sensing their prey weakening, but Mia and Cal held the line. Lumen climbed onto a ledge, his glow a steady beacon, disorienting the beasts with flashes of light. Mia marveled at him. Small, scared, but brave when it mattered. She'd started this alone, scavenging the dead world. But now she had a team, a reason beyond herself. A deafening boom shook the cave, and sunlight pierced the entrance, as ships landing thrusters burning through the storm. The creatures froze, then scattered, their screeches fading into the dark. Mia dropped her pipe, her knees buckling, but Cal caught her arm, steadying her. She laughed, a raw, shaky sound, and he joined her, their relief spilling out. The Unity's ramp lowered, and figures emerged, humans in rugged gear, alongside aliens of all kinds, their skin shimmering or scaled. A tall woman with a scared face approached, her voice sharp but warm. Mia? You called? Yeah, Maya said, wiping blood from her lip. Me and my friends need a ride. The woman's eyes flicked to Cal and Lumen, then back to Mia, a grin tugging at her mouth. Friends, huh? Looks like you've got a story. More than one, Maya replied, glancing at Cal. He stood taller now, Lumen in his arms, both glowing faintly in the ship's light. The crew ushered them aboard, medics rushing to Cal's side while another handed Lumen a blanket. Mia sank into a seat, her body screaming for rest, but her mind buzzed. The ship lifted off, the cave shrinking below, and she watched the desert fade through a window. She'd survived that wasteland alone. Now she'd saved 2 lives and found something bigger. The scared woman sat across from her, offering a canteen. Name's Terra. This is Unity Colony ship. We take in strays. Human, alien, doesn't matter. You 3 fit right in. Cal, patched up by the medics, joined them, Lumen on his lap. Colony? Safe? He asked, his voice stronger now. Safe as it gets, Terra said. We've got humans and aliens working together, building something new. You're welcome there. Mia took a sip from the canteen, the cool water soothing her throat. What's it like? Terra leaned back, her grin widening. Messy, loud, and full of fight. You'll see. Mia looked at Cal and Lumen, their faces lit with quiet hope. She'd never planned on this, helping strangers, trusting them, fighting for them. But it felt right. Her crew had left her to die, but she'd found her own way, and now she wasn't alone. She bridged worlds with a pipe, a flare gun, and a stubborn streak that wouldn't quit. The ship hummed, carrying them toward the colony. Maya leaned back, closing her eyes for the first time in days. She didn't know what came next. More storms, more fights, maybe even a home. But she wasn't scared. She'd faced the dark and won, not just for herself, but for them. And that was enough. As the desert vanished below, Lumen's glow caught her eye, steady and bright. Cal murmured something to him, and the boy smiled, a real wide smile. Maya felt it too, a spark of something new. They'd survived together, human and alien, and whatever lay ahead, they'd face it the same way. The story wasn't over, it was just beginning.